The control room was silent, only the soft hum of machines filling the air. Long screens glowed in the darkness, showing endless lines of stars. A young alien girl sat at her station, her large golden eyes half asleep. Nights on the outpost were always the same. Quiet, empty, and dull. She had listened to the radar for years, and it had never once shown anything interesting. She leaned her cheek against her hand, ready to yawn, when suddenly, beep! Her eyes snapped open. The radar pulsed, with a sharp light. A strange line appeared across the screen, moving against the quiet background of stars. She blinked, thinking it was a glitch. Maybe one of the sensors was broken again. She tapped the controls, trying to reset the system, but the line didn't disappear. It grew brighter. The girl froze. Her chest tightened. Her people lived far, from the galactic lanes. No ships ever came this way. Not traders, not explorers, not even smugglers. This was empty space, dead, forgotten, and safe. So what was this? She leaned closer to the monitor. Her long, delicate fingers typed fast, pulling up details. The radar showed speed, size, and engine signature. She whispered to herself, her voice shaking. No. This can't be right. The ship was moving with a pattern she had never seen before. It didn't match alien craft. It didn't match pirate vessels. And yet, there was something familiar, something she had only seen in forbidden archives. Her heart pounded. The database blinked with an old warning sign. Classification. Human origin. She stumbled back from her chair, her tail flicking in panic. Her people told stories about humans, ancient enemies, monsters, and old legends, beings that once burned across the stars like fire. But those were myths, bedtime tales told to frighten children. No one had seen a human ship in 1,000 years. And here it was. The girl's hands shook as she pressed the recorder. The radar beeped again, stronger this time. The signal was steady. Not a ghost, not a glitch. Real. She swallowed hard. What do I do? She whispered to herself. Her training told her to report immediately. But what if they laughed at her? What if the elders thought she was lying? She would be punished for spreading fear. The colony hated myths. Humans were just old shadows, stories buried in dust. But the radar didn't care about myths. It kept flashing, showing her the impossible truth. A human ship was coming closer. Her breathing grew shallow. The girl turned her chair, glancing at the tall glass windows of the control room. Beyond them stretched the night sky, endless and black. Somewhere out there, the ship was gliding silently toward her world. She thought of the old legends. They said humans were clever, dangerous, and unstoppable. They said humans could outfight armies, survive impossible odds, and turn enemies into allies. Some stories even said humans had hearts that could change the galaxy itself. But those were only stories, weren't they? The girl shook her head. She had to know more. She bent forward, pulling the signal apart, decoding every fragment. Her eyes widened as she found traces of old language buried in the waves. She didn't understand the words, but the sound carried weight, rough, strong, alive. Voices. Human voices. Her throat went dry. A part of her wanted to run, to shut down the radar and pretend she had never seen anything. But another part of her, the part that burned with curiosity, refused to let go. Her people always told her she was too restless, too curious for her own good. Now that same fire was leading her into danger. The radar beeped louder. The ship was adjusting its course. It was heading toward her planet. She covered her mouth, trying not to scream. No, 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 no. Her heart raced faster than the machine's. Sweat glistened on her forehead. She felt small, alone, and powerless. Yet deep inside, she knew this was the moment her life would change. Her eyes locked onto the glowing screen. She couldn't look away. It was real. The ship was real. The myth had become truth, and only she knew it. The girl pushed back from her chair, standing on shaky legs. The control room felt colder than ever. Shadows stretched across the floor as if the night itself was listening. Should she run to the elders now? Or should she wait and see what the humans would do? Her mind swirled with fear and questions. If she told the truth, no one would believe her. If she stayed silent, the colony might be caught unprepared. Her stomach twisted in knots. But the radar gave her no time to think. The screen blinked red. Warning. Incoming vessel. The girl's blood turned to ice. It was not just a distant blip anymore. It was coming. Closer. Faster. She gripped the edge of the console, her claws digging into the metal. The impossible was here. And for the first time in her life, she realized the old stories might have been right. Humans were not gone. Humans were not myths. Humans were real, and one of their ships had just found her world. The girl's voice cracked as she whispered to the empty room. What if they're here for us? The young alien girl could not sleep that night. The hum of the radar still echoed in her ears, and the blinking red warning light burned inside her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human ship, moving closer, its shadow stretching across the stars. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering. Her people had always said humans were nothing but old tales, monsters from forgotten wars. But her radar did not lie. The signal was real. The voices were real. The ship was real. Finally, she stood up. She had to tell someone. The colony's council chamber was built inside a tall stone tower at the center of the city. Long banners of deep blue hung from the walls, glowing faintly under crystal lights. Elders sat in a half circle, their faces stern, their silver eyes cold. Each one was ancient, wise, and unyielding. To them, myths had no place in the world. The girl bowed, her voice trembling. Respected elders, forgive me, but I must report something unusual. The chamber grew quiet. One of the elders, a tall man with curved horns, tapped his staff against the ground. Speak. She swallowed. Last night, the radar detected a ship. Murmurs rippled through the hall. The colony had not seen a ship in decades. Trade had long since died in this region. A ship? The elder with the staff frowned. You must have made an error. Perhaps a storm. The girl shook her head quickly. No, honored one, it was no storm. The signal was strong. It had an engine signature unlike anything I've ever seen. Another elder leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Unlike? Explain. Her hands trembled as she whispered the forbidden word. It was human. The chamber fell silent. The banners swayed faintly in the still air. Then, laughter. Sharp, bitter, cruel. One of the elder women waved her hand dismissively. Childish nonsense, humans are myths. Fairy stories. But I saw it, the girl cried, her voice breaking. I heard their voices through the signal. The ship is moving toward us even now. The elders looked at one another, shaking their heads. You've been spending too much time in that empty control room, one of them scolded. Your imagination has poisoned your duty. You dishonor us by speaking such lies, another hissed. The girl's heart pounded. She had known they would not believe her, but the weight of their scorn still cut her deeply. She tried again, her voice desperate. Please, if we do not prepare, if the ship lands, the elder with the staff slammed it against the floor. The sound cracked like thunder. Enough! You will speak no more of this. Humans are dead. Their kind was erased long before you were born. His eyes burned into hers. Do you understand? Her throat tightened. She wanted to scream, to beg them to believe her. But she saw their closed faces, their stone hearts. Nothing would change their minds. Yes, elder, she whispered. The council dismissed her with a wave. Guards escorted her out of the chamber, like a criminal. When she stepped into the night air, she felt colder than before. The stars above glittered with cruel indifference. She hugged herself, tears burning her eyes. But deep inside, she knew she was right. The radar had shown her the truth. The elders were blind. As she walked through the streets, whispers followed her. News of her outburst had already spread. Children pointed. Adults sneered. To them, she was a fool, an attention seeker chasing old ghost stories. Her chest ached. She had only wanted to protect them, but now she was branded a liar. Still, her mind raced. If the elders would not act, then what choice did she have? Could she really stand by and do nothing while a human ship descended on her world? That night, she returned to the control room. The machine still hummed. The radar still blinked. The ship was closer now, its signal stronger, its path unmistakable. She stared at the screen, her heart torn. If she raised an alarm again, the elders might punish her. If she stayed silent, the colony would be unprepared. Her claws tapped nervously on the console. Her people would not listen. But perhaps she could face this alone. The thought terrified her. She was only one girl, small and untested. But the radar pulsed with the truth. The humans were real, and if no one else would act, she had to. The signal beeped again, sharper, louder. Her golden eyes widened. The human ship had changed course. It was no longer drifting through space. It was descending toward her world. Her breath caught in her throat. The legend said humans came like fire, swift and merciless. If those stories were true, her people would be helpless, and no one believed her. The girl gripped the console tightly, her body trembling. She could not let fear control her. If the elders would not protect the colony, she would alone. She whispered to herself, her voice a fragile spark of courage. If they are coming, then I will be the first to see them. The radar glowed brighter, painting her face in ghostly light. Outside the glass windows, the sky remained still, but she knew the silence would not last. The humans were on their way, and when they arrived, the girl would stand at the edge of history, alone, afraid, and yet unyielding. The girl sat alone in the control room once more. The city outside was quiet, its towers glowing faintly in the starlight. Everyone slept peacefully, believing they were safe. Only she knew the truth. Only she had seen the impossible. Her golden eyes stared at the radar. The signal was stronger, now no longer a faint flicker but a steady pulse. The human ship was descending, slow and deliberate, as if watching, waiting. She clenched her fists. The elders had called her a liar. The people mocked her in the streets. Yet the radar proved her right. The humans were real. The danger was real. And now she carried the burden alone. The hum of the machines filled the room. She leaned forward, her fingers shaking as she adjusted the signal. The screen shifted, decoding faint waves. A crackle filled the speakers. Zurk. Stand by. Zurk. Coordinates locked. Her heart stopped. A voice. Deep. Rough. Alive. A human voice. The sound carried a weight she had never felt before. It was not like the soft tones of her own people. It was harsh, firm, filled with command. She did not understand the words, but the meaning pressed into her bones. Humans were near. She covered her mouth, eyes wide. 1,000 old stories rushed into her mind. Tales of humans who survived burning worlds, who fought armies with nothing but will and courage, who turned fear into fire. Legends said humans were dangerous, unpredictable, but also impossible to destroy. The elders had laughed, but the elders had never heard this voice. She leaned closer, trembling. It's true. All of it. The voice crackled again. Preparing. Descent. Landing zone. Hold steady. Her blood ran cold. They were not just passing by. They were coming down. She stood quickly, pacing across the control room. Shadows stretched around her as she whispered to herself. What do I do? What can I do? If she warned the colony again, the elders would silence her. They might even exile her for disobedience. She imagined herself thrown out into the barren wastes, forgotten and alone. But if she said nothing, the humans would arrive, and no one would be ready. Her chest ached. The weight of choice crushed her. She turned back to the console, her claws tapping nervously. Curiosity pulled her forward, stronger than fear. She began recording every signal, storing every trace of human words. Perhaps one day, when the elders finally believed, she would have proof. The speakers hissed again. This time, a second voice spoke, calm, lighter, almost gentle. "Are you sure it's safe? They might see us." The girl froze. Two voices, two humans. Her eyes widened as she imagined them, tall, fierce, stepping out of their ancient ship with eyes like fire. She tried to push the thought away, but her heart beat faster. Why did her chest feel warm even as fear gnawed at her? The signal beeped louder. She gasped. The ship had slowed, hovering close to orbit. They were scanning, searching. She turned toward the wide glass windows. The night sky stretched endlessly, stars glittering like frozen fire. Somewhere above, hidden in the darkness, the human ship was watching. A shiver ran down her spine. Could they see her even now? Could they feel her listening? The girl shook her head. No, impossible. But her instincts whispered otherwise. The old story said humans had strange senses, strange powers that let them read enemies and find allies. She pressed her hands against the console, whispering, "If you are real, what do you want from us?" The speakers hissed, but no answer came. Only silence. Hours passed. The colony slept. The radar pulsed like a heartbeat. The girl's eyes burned with exhaustion, yet she could not look away. She was the only one standing guard. She was the only one holding the truth. Her thoughts wandered. Maybe humans were not monsters. Maybe the legends were wrong. The voice she heard had not sounded cruel. It had sounded alive. Determined, yes, but not evil. She frowned, confused by her own feelings. She should be afraid. She should want them gone. Yet, part of her wanted to see them, to know if they were truly as powerful as the stories claimed, to know if they were more than myths. Her breath caught when the radar blinked again. A new signal. A small pod detaching from the larger ship. Her pulse raced. They're coming down. The pod streaked through the sky like a falling star. She ran to the window, pressing her hands against the glass. For a moment, she saw it. A trail of fire cutting across the heavens, falling toward the forests, beyond the city. She gasped, stepping back. They were here. Her mind raced. Should she follow? Could she reach the landing site before the guards did? Fear battled with curiosity inside her chest. Her people would never forgive her if she disobeyed. But something stronger than fear whispered inside her. You were chosen to see this. You cannot turn away now. She looked once more at the blinking radar, then at the burning trail across the sky. Her decision formed like fire in her heart. The girl grabbed her cloak and slipped out of the control room. The halls were dark, the guards asleep at their posts. She moved like a shadow, quick and silent. Beyond the walls of the colony, the night air was cold. The forests loomed tall and endless. The glow of the falling pod still burned faintly in the distance. She took a trembling breath. If she followed that light, she would be the first of her kind to see a human face. Her legs shook, but she stepped forward anyway, alone, afraid, and yet pulled by the truth. The humans had come, and she was going to meet them. The forest was silent except for the girl's quick breaths. She ran through the tall black trees, her cloak brushing against the wet leaves. Each step echoed in her ears, but she did not stop, her golden eyes fixed on the glow ahead, the place where the human pod had fallen. Above her, the night sky was no longer calm. A faint roar trembled across the air, like thunder that never ended. She stopped for a moment, looking up. Through the clouds she saw it, the great shape of the human ship. It hovered high above the world, silent and dark, yet powerful. Its metal skin glimmered faintly, scarred from countless journeys. It looked nothing like her people's ships. It was sharp, rough, alive, as if it had been built not just to travel but to survive. Her chest tightened. Legends whispered in her memory. Humans never built for beauty. They built to endure. The ship hung in the stars like a predator, watching. The girl's throat went dry. "It's real," she whispered. "All of it. Real." The ground shook, suddenly. She gasped, grabbing a tree for balance. A deep rumble spread through the forest. Birds burst from the branches, fleeing into the night. The pod was landing. She hurried forward, her feet stumbling on roots and stones. The glow grew brighter, the smoke thicker. Her heart pounded faster with every step. Fear screamed at her to turn back, but something stronger, curiosity, fate, pulled her on. At last, she reached a clearing. The trees opened to reveal a crater of scorched earth. Smoke curled into the sky. At the center lay the pod, a black shape still hissing with heat. The air stank of metal and fire. The girl crouched behind a rock, her breath shaking. Her claws dug into the stone as she watched. The pod groaned. Steam hissed from its sides. With a loud click, a hatch began to open. The girl's entire body went rigid. She felt her heart hammering so loud she feared the humans might hear it. The hatch opened wider, light spilling out. Then, movement. A shadow shifted inside. Slowly, a figure stepped out. The girl's golden eyes widened. A human. He was tall, taller than any of her kind, with broad shoulders and a strange suit of dark fabric covering his body. His face was uncovered, pale under the moonlight. His eyes sharp and alert. Scars lined his cheek, proof of battles fought. He looked around the clearing, his posture strong and ready. He carried no weapon in his hands, yet his presence alone felt like a blade. The girl's breath caught. The stories had not lied. Humans looked like warriors even when they stood still. Another sound came, the second hatch opening. A second figure stepped out. This one was smaller, her movements lighter. A woman. Her hair fell over her shoulders, shining under the night sky. Her eyes scanned the trees, cautious but curious. The girl crouched lower, her claws trembling against the stone. She could not believe it. Two humans, alive, breathing the same air as her. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. She wanted to step out and ask them everything. But fear chained her to the shadows. The man spoke, his voice deep and steady. The words meant nothing to her, but the sound was clear, strong. The woman answered softly, her tone calmer, almost kind. The girl's ears twitched. She could not understand their language, yet she felt something in it. Strength, warmth, life. Her chest tightened with a strange mix of terror and awe. Then, suddenly, a sharp noise cut through the clearing. Clank. The humans turned instantly, their bodies tense. The man raised a strange device from his belt, pointing it toward the trees. The girl froze. Her tail had brushed against the rock, knocking a loose stone to the ground. Her breath caught. Her golden eyes locked with the human. Man's for one heartbeat time stopped, he saw her. Their gazes met across the smoke-filled clearing. His eyes widened, not with rage, not with cruelty, but with shock. Almost the same shock she felt. Her heart thumped violently. She had been discovered. The man did not move closer. He lowered the device slightly, his hand rising, palm open, peaceful. The girl's claws dug into the rock. Her instincts screamed to flee, but her legs would not move. She could not look away from him. The woman stepped beside him, her eyes softening as she noticed the girl in the shadows. She whispered something to the man, her tone calm. The man's lips moved. His voice carried across the clearing, steady and low. The words were strange, but the meaning was clear. "We are not here to harm you." The girl's chest shook with every breath. She had feared monsters. She had expected nightmares. Instead, she saw two humans, scarred but alive, standing before her not as demons, but as people. Still, fear burned inside her. If she revealed herself fully, if she stepped into the clearing, everything would change. Her people would call her A traitor. The elders would punish her. But if she ran, she would never know the truth. The forest around her was silent, waiting. The humans watched her with steady eyes. She trembled. Her claws loosened from the stone. Her body leaned forward slightly, one step closer, and she would no longer be alone with the truth. The girl's claws scraped softly against the rock as she crouched in the shadows. Her chest rose and fell quickly, every breath shaky and uneven. Across the clearing, the two humans stood like figures from a dream. No, from a nightmare, from a legend. She had grown up hearing stories of their kind, but now those stories breathed before her. Her golden eyes locked with the man's. His hand remained raised, palm open, showing he carried no threat. The woman beside him tilted her head slightly, her expression calm, her lips moving with quiet words. The girl could not understand their language, yet something inside her felt the weight of their voices. They were not harsh. They were not cruel. Instead, they carried a strange calmness. Her tail flicked nervously. Should she stay hidden? Should she run? Every instinct screamed that stepping out would be dangerous. But another voice whispered inside her. You wanted the truth. Here it stands before you. The silence stretched. Smoke from the pod curled into the night sky. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then, the human man took a slow step forward. The girl stiffened, her claws gripping the stone. He did not rush. His movements were steady, measured, like someone approaching a wild creature. He spoke again, his deep voice rolling through the clearing. She trembled. Her heart thundered in her chest. She could not understand his words, but his tone was not the tone of an enemy. The woman touched his arm gently, whispering something. The man nodded and stopped where he stood, lowering his hand, but keeping his eyes fixed on the shadows where the girl hid. The girl's body shook. This was it, the moment no one had believed would come. The myths stood alive in front of her, watching, waiting. Slowly, painfully, she rose from behind the rock. Her cloak slid down her shoulders, revealing her slender frame, her trembling hands, her wide golden eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. The human's eyes widened as they saw her fully. For a long moment, no one moved. The man lowered the strange device he had been holding. His lips parted slightly as if in disbelief. The woman's face softened further. Her eyes filled not with fear, but with something like wonder. The girl's voice cracked when she finally spoke. You're real. Of course, they could not understand her, but her words broke the silence, her voice thin and trembling. The man tilted his head, his sharp eyes narrowing slightly as if he was listening not just to her words but to her tone, to the fear and awe inside her voice. The woman smiled faintly and took a small step forward. Her hands rose, palms open, mirroring the man's gesture of peace. She spoke softly, her tone almost musical, inviting. The girl's legs nearly gave out beneath her. Every story she had heard painted humans as monsters, ruthless, destructive, merciless. Yet here they stood, unarmed, showing peace. Her breath trembled. Could the legends have been wrong? The humans waited. They did not rush her. They did not force her forward. Gathering every fragment of courage, she stepped into the clearing. The air was heavy, filled with smoke and tension. Her footsteps were light, careful, but each one echoed louder than thunder in her ears. She felt small beneath their gaze, fragile, exposed. The man spoke again, his voice low and steady. His hand extended slightly, not fully reaching for her, but open, waiting. Her golden eyes darted to his hand, then to his face. She searched his expression for cruelty, for deceit. She found none. Only a strange, unshakable strength. She swallowed hard. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Why, are you here? The humans exchanged a glance, speaking in their strange tongue. She caught none of the meaning, but the man's reply carried a weight she could not ignore. It sounded like truth. It sounded like destiny. Her body shook. She wanted to ask 100 questions. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run into the forest and never look back. But her feet remained rooted in place. The woman crouched slightly, lowering herself to the girl's height, her eyes soft and gentle. She said something, her tone almost like a lullaby. For the first time, the girl felt her fear weaken just a little. These were not the monsters of legend. These were people, different, strange, but alive. Her lips parted. "I warned them," she whispered. "No one believed me. But you're real." She knew they did not understand. Still, saying the words made her feel lighter, as if a weight had left her chest. The man nodded slowly, as if he understood her fear without needing her language. The girl's claws loosened from her cloak. For the first time in her life, she stood face to face with a human, and the world did not end. But in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. The elders would soon learn. The colony would soon see. And when that happened, nothing would ever be the same. The clearing glowed faintly with smoke and moonlight. The girl stood trembling face to face with the two humans. For a moment, everything felt still. The forest held its breath. The night was fragile, balanced between fear and wonder. But then, the silence shattered. A horn blasted from the distance. The sharp sound tore through the forest like a warning. Lights flickered in the trees, lanterns carried by soldiers rushing through the undergrowth. Voices rose, shouting commands. The colony guards had come. The girl's golden eyes widened. Her people would not understand. They would not see what she saw. To them, the humans were not people. They were monsters from old tales. And monsters had to be destroyed. She turned quickly to the humans. The man's eyes narrowed, sensing danger. The woman reached for him, whispering fast words in their strange language. Both of them straightened, their bodies tense, ready. The ground shook as the guards burst into the clearing. Dozens of armored figures surrounded the crater, their long weapons gleaming under the pale light. Their faces were hard, filled with fear and anger. "There, look," one shouted. "The myths, they live." Another spat. "Kill them before they bring fire upon us." The girl's chest tightened. Her worst fear had come true. "No," she cried, running forward. She spread her arms wide, standing between the humans and the guards. Her voice broke with desperation. "Stop! Don't harm them." The guards froze for a moment, shocked to see one of their own protecting the strangers. Their eyes narrowed at her. "Move aside, girl," the captain growled, stepping forward with his blade raised. "These are humans. You know the stories? They bring only death." "They are not what you think," she pleaded. "I've seen them. They did not attack. They showed peace." Her voice shook, but her body stood firm. She would not move. The guards muttered angrily. One hissed, "Traitor! She has fallen under their spell." The captain raised his hand. The soldiers aimed their weapons at the humans. The clearing was seconds away from bloodshed. The girl's heart raced. She turned desperately toward the mob. Humans. The man stood tall, calm, his sharp eyes watching every soldier. He did not raise his weapon. His hands were steady at his sides. The woman's gaze softened as she looked at the girl, then back at the angry guards. The man slowly lifted his hand again, palm open, showing peace. His voice carried across the clearing, low and steady. She could not understand his words, but his tone was clear. "We are not your enemy." The girl's throat ached. She faced the captain again. "Look at them. Do they look like monsters to you? They stand unarmed. They are not attacking us." But the captain's face twisted with anger. "You are blinded by fear, child. Do you not remember the legends? Humans cannot be trusted. They are not legends," she cried. "They are real and they are here. We must not meet them with hate." The soldiers shifted uneasily. Some glanced at each other, doubt flickering in their eyes. But fear was stronger than reason. They had been raised to believe humans were nightmares. The captain raised his blade higher. "If you will not move, then you will fall with them." The girl's breath caught. Her entire body shook, but she did not step aside. Her golden eyes blazed with defiance. "Then strike me first." The guards gasped. The forest fell silent again. Even the humans looked at her with shock. The captain's arm trembled. He had expected fear, not courage. He had expected obedience, not defiance. The girl stood unyielding, her small frame glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her voice rose, stronger than before. "You always told us humans were myths. You always told us stories to frighten children. But now they stand before us, alive. And I say they are not our monsters. They are people. Like us." Her words cut through the night. The guards shifted, uncertain. The human man lowered his hand, his sharp eyes softening just slightly as he looked at her. The woman whispered something gentle, almost like approval. The captain gritted his teeth. His pride fought against the truth before his eyes. His blade hovered in the air, caught between legend and reality. Finally, he snarled and lowered his weapon slightly. "This changes nothing. If they remain, the colony will fall. If the elders see them, they will demand blood." The girl's heart sank. She knew he was right. Even if she stopped the guards tonight, the elders would not listen tomorrow. But the man's voice broke the silence again. His tone was calm, strong, steady. Though she could not understand his words, she felt the promise inside them. "We came, not to destroy, but to speak." She turned back to her people. "Please," she begged. "If you kill them, you kill the chance to learn the truth. If you kill them, you kill hope." The guards did not lower their weapons, but they did not fire. Tension hung heavy in the air. For now, the clearing held an uneasy peace, shaking, fragile, but alive. The girl knew this was only the beginning. The elders would soon demand answers. The humans would not leave quietly. And when belief clashed with truth, the world she knew would shatter. But tonight she had chosen her side, and she stood with the humans. The clearing was still tense. Dozens of alien soldiers stood with weapons raised, their eyes full of fear and anger. Across from them, the two humans remained steady, calm, their hands open in peace. And between them all, the girl stood trembling but unyielding, her small frame the only barrier that stopped blood from spilling into the soil. No one moved. No one spoke. The forest was silent except for the faint hiss of the human pod cooling. Behind them, the captain's voice finally broke the stillness. "You shame us, girl. You protect enemies who will destroy us." His words cut like blades, but his voice was not as steady as before. Doubt had crept in. The girl's golden eyes flashed. "If they wished to destroy us, they would have done so already. Look at them. They do not attack. They do not strike. Why can you not see the truth?" Her words rippled through the guards. Some shifted uneasily, lowering their weapons slightly. Others hissed with anger, clinging to the fear the elders had planted in them. The man's deep voice rolled across the clearing again. The girl could not understand his words, but the meaning touched her anyway. He did not sound like a conqueror. He sounded like someone asking to be heard. The woman beside him stepped forward. She placed her hand gently against her chest and spoke softly, slowly, carefully, as if trying to bridge the gap between their worlds. The tone was not threatening, but hopeful. The girl's heart pounded. She realized what they were doing. They were not fighting. They were reaching out. She turned back to her people. Her voice rose stronger now, carrying across the clearing. "All my life, you told me humans were myths. You told me they were fire and death. But tonight, I see something else. I see people, flesh and blood, alive just like us." The soldiers wavered. Fear clashed with reason inside them. The captain snarled, "And what if you are wrong? What if they strike when we let down our guard?" "Then let me bear that risk," the girl said fiercely. Her claws trembled at her sides, but her eyes did not break. "If they harm us, I will pay the price. But if they do not, then we have seen the truth with our own eyes, and we can no longer live in lies." Her words echoed like thunder. Even the forest seemed to lean closer, listening. The man lowered his hand slowly, his sharp eyes fixed on hers. A faint nod passed between them, silent recognition. She was standing for him, and he understood. The captain's blade lowered, heavy in his hand. He looked at the humans, then at the girl, then back again. His pride fought against the sight before him. Finally, with a bitter growl, he gave the signal. Stand down. One by one, the soldiers lowered their weapons. The clearing relaxed, but the air still crackled with unease. The girl's body nearly gave out with relief. She had held back a storm, barely. The humans did not move closer, but the woman offered a small smile, gentle and warm. The girl's chest tightened. She had never expected to see kindness in human eyes. The captain stepped forward, his voice low and dangerous. You may have stopped us tonight, girl, but the elders will not forgive this. They will call for war. And when they do, you will be judged as one of them. His gaze flicked to the humans. Or worse, one of their allies. The girl's heart pounded. She knew he was right. The colony would not welcome humans. The council would demand their blood. But she also knew the truth. Humans were here, alive, and she could not let fear erase that. She lifted her chin, her voice firm. Then let them judge. I will not hide from the truth. The captain's eyes burned with anger, but he said no more. He turned sharply and signaled his soldiers to retreat. The guards melted back into the forest, leaving the girl, standing in the smoke and silence with the two humans. Her knees shook as she turned toward them. For a moment they simply looked at each other, alien girl and human strangers connected by the choice she had made. The man finally spoke, his voice steady, low, carrying a weight she felt in her bones. Though she could not understand, she felt the meaning. Thank you. The woman stepped forward gently, her eyes kind. She raised her hand, not in threat, but in greeting. Slowly, carefully, the girl lifted her trembling hand and mirrored the gesture. Their palms did not touch, but the distance between them felt smaller than the stars. A fragile silence hung between them, no longer heavy with fear, but full of possibility. The girl's eyes burned with tears. For the first time in her life, she felt she was standing at the edge of something vast, something greater than myths or fear. The old stories had been wrong. Humans were not shadows of destruction. They were real. They were here, and they were not alone anymore. The girl whispered, softly, even though she knew they could not understand. This is a new beginning. The man's eyes softened. The woman smiled. And in that silent clearing beneath the stars, a fragile bridge formed between two worlds that had been strangers for centuries. A bridge built not by elders, not by armies, but by a single girl who had chosen to believe in more than fear. And as the night stretched on, she knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, her world would never be the same.